Hi, and thank you so much for joining us for On Call for All Kids. This is a weekly segment we have here at Johns Hopkins All Children's, where we talk to our experts about timely topics in pediatric healthcare. And it is 4th of July week, so today we are talking about fireworks safety. Here are your top 3 takeaways. The most common injuries on the 4th of July, best practices for using fireworks, and tips for keeping your kids safe. I'm Ashley Roberts, and I'm joined by Dr. Patrick Mularoni. He is an emergency medicine physician here at the hospital. And Dr. Mularoni, I can't believe we're here in summertime. It's about to be the 4th of July. Often we see a lot more injuries in the ER because of that. What do you typically see? What type of injuries with fireworks?
So, there's 2 types of injuries you're going to see with fireworks. The first one is going to be burn injuries. Any type of firework has fire and sparks, so those burn hot. The one that you're not going to think about most often, though, is sparklers. A lot of kids get burned with sparklers, either by grabbing the tip of the sparkler, or if that happens, you can end up with a 3rd-degree burn. Or if it touches your eye, that could lead to permanent vision loss. The second one is blast injuries, where you're using something that's explosive or that's going to shoot up in the air, and then that can cause a blast burning you, but it can also cause amputation. So, when we think about these fireworks injuries, kids 10 to 14 years of age have double the risk of the rest of the population. So it's often those preteens that are getting injured more than anyone else.
Ooh. Let's talk specifically about sparklers. If I'm a parent and I want to light a sparkler with my child, because they are so fun, what do we need to really keep in mind?
Well, when we think about sparklers, often as a parent, you're going to light sparklers with little children. And these children lack the coordination in order to actually use these sparklers. So they want to swing them all over the place when they're lighting the sparkler as well. And if you think about the setup with a sparkler, you're handing a child that's usually school age a 1-foot-long wire with fire on the end that burns at like 1,500 to 3,000 degrees. So you've got to have rules. I think that as a parent, if you're going to light sparklers with your children, you need to have a powwow or kind of a preteen meeting where you say, hey, look, these are the rules. One of the rules is I teach children, don't bend your elbow when using a sparkler. If you teach them to not bend their elbow, then they're going to be able to keep that sparkler further away from them. The second thing I would say is keep them in a small group and give a child a space where they're allowed to use the sparkler and not to move from that space. Maybe a circle or something like that. Because what often happens is if you're lighting 4 or 5 kids' sparklers, by the time you get the 5th one lit, the first one has gone out, and that child with the first one is going to run over to get another one, and they're going to run across the path of other sparklers and then cause burns. And then the last thing I would do is always make sure you have a bucket of water. That wire, even when it's done burning, is still really hot. So children can get burned by that wire even if there isn't spark on the sparkler. So they need to put that wire in a bucket of water in order to not burn themselves.
Okay, those are really good tips. What can you just tell us about fireworks safety in general?
Well, a lot of people think about fireworks, that the fireworks that are injuring people are actually those illegal fireworks or those bomb or projectile fireworks, and that's not always the case. A lot of the firework injuries that we see are coming from children that are playing with fireworks that are bought at a corner store or a grocery store. Anything that causes sparks or anything that causes fire can obviously burn you. And every year we see over 2,000 injuries associated in pediatric ERs associated with fireworks. So you need to know that it's not just those fireworks that shoot up into the air that are dangerous for those blast injuries, but also those little sparklers or fountains that you'll see on the street.
Okay. And what are the most important things that we should take away as a parent to keep our kiddos safe on the 4th of July?
Well, there's a couple things I'd like to suggest for you. The first is only light 1 firework at a time. You don't want to be lighting multiple fireworks and running in between them. That's when injuries happen. The second thing is think about duds. A dud is a firework, people use that term, where you light it and it doesn't go off. If you light a firework and it doesn't go off, leave it alone. Set that one aside. You don't need to touch that because they can reignite or they could fire later, and that's where those amputation injuries happen. Only use fireworks as they're described, so don't throw fireworks or hold them in your hand. Make sure you're keeping track of used items. If you have, or unused items as well, because the used items are still hot, but the unused items, some 14-year-old in your group might grab a couple of those firecrackers and want to use them later. We often see injuries on July 5th and 6th associated with fireworks. Don't underestimate legal fireworks. They're hot as well. Know that sparklers are dangerous, and you have to have a meeting beforehand to talk about the dangers associated with this. And last but not least, keep a bucket of water handy so that you can put out those fireworks, and if there is a dud, you can put water on it to make sure it's completely cool before you move it.
Okay, Dr. Mularoni, thank you so much for these tips to keep our kids safe over the holiday weekend. And if you have any topics you'd like us to look into and interview our experts about, you can just comment below on this video. You can also check out our website. It's hopkinsallchildrens.org/newsroom. Lots of information there and different articles that you can check out as well. Stay safe this 4th, and we'll see you next week.
Happy 4th of July.